So I used to live at the Institute in 1979, 1980. And so this is my first time back since 82. So it's really changed a lot. I think to see so many monastics here, as well as all the big changes I've made to the property. So we have a few days to talk about what being a monastic is, and monastic communities and things like that. And so I thought today maybe I'd just start out giving some things, just kind of set the stage. And then as we go on more and more, let you ask questions. And then if there's specific things that you want me to talk about, to give me those topics, and I can do that. And then also just to have some discussions. See where all of you are at and what you want to do, because I know that there's been talk of starting monastic communities here, which is very, very valuable, very important to do. And then let's take a moment and generate a motivation. And think that we will listen and share together this afternoon, so that we can learn about the Vinaya, learn about the monastic life, so that as monastics we can really fulfill our purpose and the purpose of other living beings, and help the Dharma to sustain for a very long time in our world. So with that kind of motivation, especially one of compassion for all beings, then let's share together this afternoon. Okay, so I thought to just start with today, when they talk about the Sangha, so a Sangha is a community. It's not an individual. It's a community. And this is one, I think, important thing that we need to realize. When we ordain, we're joining a community. So although it's often translated as the ethical code for individual liberation, so we think individual, my liberation, that's it. Actually, we're joining a community of practitioners, and we're adopting a certain role in society. So I think it's quite important to be aware of these when we ordain. So when the Buddha set up the precepts, well, actually, how the precepts got set up is for the first 12 years they didn't have any precepts because everybody behaved pretty well. Then people started messing up. So every time somebody messed up, then the news reached the Buddha, and the Buddha established a precept. So there's always a story behind the establishment of each precept. And then as the Sangha was keeping the different precepts, some different situations would arise. And so sometimes they had to be modified in one way or another, or exceptions made, or different contingencies established. But it's whenever he set up a precept, he talked about 10 benefits of doing so. So although sometimes we think the precepts is holding the precepts is the whole meaning of being a monastic. It's not. It's part of the meaning of being a monastic. But the reasons that the Buddha gave for establishing the precepts, at least in my feeling, really cover a much broader vision of what it means to be a monastic. The Buddha talked first about the conventional or immediate benefit of the precepts, and then the ultimate benefit. And so of the 10, 9 of them fall under the conventional benefit and 1 under the ultimate. And of the 9, I'm sure you guys having studied, you know about all these categories, So you have the whole, it's divided into 9 and 1, and the 9 are divided into 3, and the first of the 3 has 3, and the second of the 3 has 2, and the third of the 3 has 4. Okay, you got that, right? Okay, so the first general reason under the conventional one is to promote harmony in the Sangha. So as we know, harmony in the Sangha is extremely important. In fact, in the Pratimoksha, not the Pratimoksha, the Posada ceremony, at the end when we talk about the importance of keeping the Pratimoksha, the Buddha says that the harmony in the Sangha is the surest factor for liberation. Does that strike? When I first read that, I was kind of, harmony in the Sangha? I would think keeping the precepts is the surest factor. Realizing emptiness, realizing bodhicitta, those should be the principal factor. Harmony in the Sangha. But then I began to realize that when there isn't harmony in the Sangha, then you can't have the rest of the things. If there's no harmony in the Sangha, scratch bodhicitta. Yeah, if there's no harmony in the Sangha, forget realizing emptiness. So really being harmonious is quite important. So, this first group of reasons why the Buddha established the precepts has to do with keeping the harmony. So the first under that is that the precepts direct the monastics. Okay, so when we first join the Sangha, we're like newborn babies, You might be however old you are, but you're kind of a baby monastic. Yeah. And so as babies, as newborns maybe, we need guidance. And we need to know what to do and what not to do. And so, the first reason here to direct the monastics is the precepts give us a guideline of how to behave. Okay? And so although the Pratimoksha precepts deal with actions of body and speech, and our physical and verbal behavior, to actually keep them, we have to work with our mind. And to live happily as a monastic, we have to work with our mind. So it really covers all three. Okay? And, here, keeping the precepts directs the monastics. And it gives us a way to behave. And how we behave really, influences how the lay people view the Dharma and how they view the Sangha. Okay? Just before I came here, I was in Boston, and I met with Janet Gatsa, who's a Buddhist scholar. And she was just in Bodh Gaya when the Karmapa was starting this process of giving Bhikshuni ordination. And she was commenting about the behavior of the Chinese Bhikshunis that came and how dignified they were and how they just, they were friendly, they were relaxed, but they were also very dignified. And she said that really impacted her in a big way. Yeah. And so how we behave does impact the lay people. Yeah. And what they, are they going to think the Dharma is worthwhile? Because if the Sangha is just carrying on and acting any old which way, then people think, well, if I practice the Dharma, I'm going to become like that. And I'm already bad enough. So, Lama Yeshe used to talk to us a lot about being a good visualization for the lay people. In other words, we're not trying to be something we aren't, but we should behave properly because we influence other people. So the precepts help us do that, what we can do, what we can't do. Yeah? And in keeping the precepts, I must say that if you want to do any of the things that are prohibited, then you really need to look very closely at why you want to need them, why you want to do them. And I think it's very helpful for people before they ordain. Maybe they can't see all of the precepts, but they can get an idea of some of the basic ones. Because I think if somebody doesn't really want to keep the precepts, then it doesn't make any sense to take them, does it? Yeah, if you're not interested in keeping them, then what's the use? So, we should really have an attitude that wants to keep them and wants to, as Lama had put it, become a good visualization. Okay, the second reason is to foster peace and happiness among the monastics. Okay, so as we get a sound foundation by keeping the precepts, then our actions become more subdued, and so the first people we influence are the people we live with, which are other monastics. Yeah? And so we have a responsibility towards the monastic community, especially to foster peace and happiness. And we do that by keeping the precepts and by regulating our actions of body, speech, and mind. And then the third reason under this first thing of promoting harmony in the Sangha is to protect the monastics. So, it's very important, keeping the precepts protects us against negativity. It protects the Sangha against disharmony. And it makes it very easy to practice the Dharma. When you live with other people who share your same way of thinking, your same aspirations, then it becomes so much easier for you to practice. So in the Chinese tradition, they always say that as monastics, we're like trees in a forest. So if you're a tree in a forest and you're surrounded by other trees, you're going to go straight up because that's the direction everybody else is growing. Yeah, it's going to be hard to grow this way or that way. You're going to bump into somebody else. So all the trees grow in the same direction. Similarly, and if trees aren't in a forest, if one over here, one over here, one over there, the wind comes, the wind knocks you over. Or the wind, makes you grow in some funny shape or another. Okay? So here, we are protected by all growing in the same way. Yeah? And you really feel that when you live and function in a monastery together, you can see that you're changing and growing, in the way that the Buddha prescribed. And so is everybody else around you. Yeah. So, of course, sometimes we don't get along, sometimes people quarrel, this kind of stuff. We're sentient beings, this happens. But underneath it all, there's a very, very deep respect for the other Sangha members, because you know that they're trying. Yeah. And so having that respect for each other is very important, even when people mess up. And when you have that respect for others, it helps people respect themselves in the same way that when they have that underlying respect for your aims in life, that helps you respect yourself. And that kind of self-respect is very, very important. Then the next two advantages of the precepts are to transform society. So here we see, it's not just about the Sangha community. It's not just about me as an individual. This is about transforming society. Okay? So here the two advantages are to inspire those who don't have faith and to advance the practice of people who do have faith. So we always live in the context of living with other sentient beings. Yeah. Sometimes we think, I just want to go up to the mountains. I'm going to stay in a cave and get enlightened. The first generation of monastics at Kopan, this is what we all wanted to do. We were just looking for our caves group, stay isolated from this crazy society, do retreat and get enlightened. And what did Lama do? Well, he sent Mars to open a business, an export business to support the Sangha. He sent me here. He sent some others to Manjushri Institute. We all got involved in doing all sorts of things. Okay? So, we all thought we were just going to meditate and get enlightened by Tuesday, and that wasn't what Lama had in mind for us. Anyway, it wouldn't have happened because we were all so crazy. We were, sometime, I've been always thinking we should get some of the older people together and tell stories, because there's some... Yeah. Okay, so to to inspire those who have no faith in the Dharma, to advance the practice of those who do have faith. So even at the Buddhist time, people had many different reasons for having faith in the Sangha. And when you read, the stories, many of them, they just saw other monastics, and that inspired them to become Buddhists. Yeah. They just saw somebody who was walking peacefully, somebody who was speaking appropriately and kindly, someone who had a sense of inner balance. And these people went, wow, something's unusual about these practitioners. And they wanted to know who their teacher was. So we really do influence society, not only the individuals we meet, but all of society. And living in the Abbey, for those of you who don't know, we have Sravasti Abbey in eastern Washington State. Washington State is on the west side of the country. We are on as far from Donald Trump as you can get. So he's in D.C., we are in Washington State. So, so where was I? As soon as I start talking about Donald Trump, my mind goes off. So, we have a community there, and people come to visit us. We have programs and so on. They come for retreats or teachings. And then some of them just come to live with us for a period of time, however long they want. And they follow the same schedule we do, of teachings and offering service and meditation and so on. And so we provide, this opportunity for people to learn the Dharma by living it with us. I mean, yes, we have meditation groups in different cities that are nearby. And so we teach meditation and teach the Dharma. But having people come, and then they live with us, and they see how monastics function, and they get the idea of how you live a balanced life with meditation, offering service, and teachings all together. That it doesn't have to be an extreme life. It's a balanced life, and a life where you cooperate with others. And so in a lot of the outreach work we do, for example, we have an online education program. Different monastics teach locally and, in different places. And then we put a lot on the web. Every day we have I'm just giving this as an example to you of what we do so you get some ideas. So every day we have a talk. It's called BBC, Bodhisattva Breakfast Club. Okay. We used to have it before breakfast. Now we have it before lunch, but we didn't change the name. And so we give a short talk every day that goes up that day, and so many people watch it. You know, we get emails from all over the world of people telling us that they really enjoy our BBC talks. And then we stream some of our weekly teachings, our Thursday and Friday teachings. We live stream. We also archive those. So people get to know us. And we get so much, I guess you could call it fan mail, except it's not fan mail. It's like people expressing. It's really beautiful because you can see in what people write that they have a very virtuous mind and that they're appreciating virtue when they write to thank us for what we do. Yeah. And these are people that we've never met, who have never even been to the Abbey. But some of them write and say, we know that there's a group of monastics there who are trying to develop the four immeasurables, who are trying to realize, the nature of reality. And that just gives us hope. Yeah, that gives us a vision. It gives us hope for society. After the election, I don't know how many of you are American, but most of us were just like, we were shocked, we were terrified. We were getting emails from people saying, what do we do? This is just awful, how are we going to make it? So we had a whole series of BBC talks about how to look at the election results with a Dharma mind. Yeah? And then other BBC talks that have happened later, how to deal with different social problems and things that come up, how to deal with personal problems. And so people, can benefit directly, whether they're at the Abbey or somewhere else. And so they say, just knowing that there's a community of people dedicated to peace like this really gives them hope in life and hope in society. I also think another way that we benefit society is a monastic community. And you'll notice here, I'm not saying monastic individuals, I'm saying a community. That we act as the conscience of society. Yeah? We live a simple lifestyle. Yeah? Not like what's going on outside. And people meet us, or they come to the monastery, and they say, wow, here's a bunch of people. They don't have a Porsche, they don't have a Mercedes, they don't have jewelry, they don't go to the disco, they don't watch movies, they wear the same clothes every day, imagine that, and they cut their hair off, and they're happy. My goodness, how can they be happy living like this? So it's like a question posed to society. Do you really need all of this to be happy? Do we need to use up our world's resources without considering future generations, just so that we can be happy? Yeah. Do we need to destroy the environment? Yeah. And harm the animals and other living beings in it for our own benefit? Or can we be happy with less? And so I think, a community that's living a simple life, just without doing a whole lot, poses that question. Yeah. Do you really need that to be happy? And I think this is an important question for society. Not only for people on the individual level, but, we're faced with climate change, we're faced with globalization, we're faced with people pushing information, a lot of it useless, in our face all day long through Facebook, and that's what Facebook means, is pushing it in your face, you know. So do we really need all of that? Yeah, asking that question to society. We don't go out drinking and drugging. Imagine that. Yeah, wow. Here are these people, they don't drink, they don't go for happy hour. Yeah, they don't care that marijuana is now legalized in a few states. So, you know, it's posing that question to society. It has a strong impact. You know? We live peacefully. We don't advocate, you know, in the US, guns are a big problem. I think, are you people saner? You have more restrictive gun laws here? Yeah. Everybody's got to have more restrictive gun laws than we do. You know, I mean, it's the Wild West in the U.S. But it's putting that question. You know, here are people, they don't have guns and they feel safe. Yeah. Imagine that. You don't have a gun and you feel safe. Yeah. We welcome strangers into the monastery. Yeah. We don't have a border patrol outside where we're screening everybody and ask them for their passwords for their media accounts so we can check and make sure they're not ISIS. Yeah. So we have a welcoming attitude. This sets an example for the whole society that I think is important. Yeah. It has an impact. Slowly, but it has an impact. Okay? And so that's, I think, why you see, I mean, you see His Holiness, and he's one of the chief people who inspires people probably to come here. Yeah? They attend his teachings, they attend his talk, they go, my goodness, what kind of human being is this? Yeah? He's so compassionate, he's so warm, he has a sense of humor. And he's a monastic. I always thought monastics were grim. You know, His Holiness is grim. So then they want to learn more about Buddhism, so then they come here. You know, in the same way, when we're out in society, it influences people. Yeah. You've probably had many experiences with that, being out there. I mean, I have people stop me and ask me if rebirth exists. One time on a flight, somebody did his whole confession to me in the aisle. But you know, you're there for people, so it has, they get a good visualization. Then the next category talks about the four advantages that bring about individual liberation. So the first one is to restrain the restive, and the second is to stabilize those with a sense of integrity. So the restive, okay, that's us. Can't sit still. We want to do this. We want to go there. We want to do this. We want to do that. Let's turn on the TV. Let's surf the web. Let's go talk to this person. You know, we're restive. Our mind is all over the place. And our body and speech follow. Okay? We're not balanced inside. We're not calm inside. Yeah, we're just like, well, you know. Yeah, we're restive. So the precepts and living together in a community help settle that energy, you know, because there's certain things you can do and there's certain things that you can't do. And by all of us keeping the same precepts, we're all going in the same direction. We're all growing in the same way. Okay? So that helps us to keep our precepts. It helps us to calm down. Yeah? And the way that Buddha set it up also is, you know, when it comes time for posada, you know, socham, that we reveal the precepts that we've broken. Yeah? And we talk about the state of our mind. The Tibetans don't usually do that, but actually we're supposed to do that before we do prasadam. Yeah? So at the Abbey, we do it, and that keeps you honest. When you know every 2 weeks you have to kind of talk about what you've done, and then you think sometimes twice before you do it, because you're going to have to talk about it. And if you get upset with somebody or you speak harshly, then people usually bring that up also on the Sojourn days and confess it. And so if it hasn't been settled before. Yeah, so it keeps us honest. It helps us to calm our mind down. Yeah, and it makes us more transparent. And I think transparency is very, very important. To be able to just talk about ourselves without a sense of shame, without embarrassment. And I say this because shame is a really strong factor in the West. Yeah, of people feeling that they were born defective, maybe because of original sin, or that something is wrong with them, or that they can't do anything right. This kind of shame and low self-esteem, I find, is really prevalent amongst people. And when we can just talk about what's happening inside of ourselves without feeling embarrassed or worried or shameful, then we learn, it becomes easier for us to accept ourselves. And that kind of acceptance is a way of offering some kindness to ourselves. And that gives us the opportunity to change. When we're very harsh with ourselves, oh, look what I did this, I did that, you're so terrible. That kind of mind completely impedes Dharma practice. Yeah? And it also causes us not to get along with other people, because when we're harsh with ourselves, we're going to be harsh with the people around us too. And that just doesn't work. Yeah? It also, when we have a lot of stuff going on inside, and we conceal it because we don't want other people to really know, then we use a lot of our energy just to conceal our faults. Yeah? And then, of course, we get these two mental factors. I'm sure you've studied this when you've studied low grade. The two mental factors of pretension and deceit. One is pretending to have good qualities you don't have. The other is covering up faults that we have. Yeah, so doing that takes a whole lot of energy, and we don't feel peaceful inside. Yeah? When we have a community and we trust the other people in the community because we respect their spiritual aspiration. Yeah? And we know that within the Sangha community, there is the rule of confidentiality. Yeah? And the Buddha set this up in the Vinaya too. If someone has transgressions, if when the Sangha talks about it, nobody goes and tells the lay people. Yeah? You don't go gossiping around, oh, so-and-so did this, so-and-so has this problem, so-and-so has that problem. We do not talk to the lay people about each other's faults. Yeah? Among ourselves, we learn to be transparent and speak about the difficulties we're having so that the Sangha can support us. Yeah? And that support that we can offer each other is really rather beautiful. Yeah? And I see it in our community. Sometimes somebody will say, I am really out of sorts this week, and I'm very irritable, and I'm getting angry, and please everybody know that, and excuse me for what I'm doing, and I need some help and support. And as soon as somebody says that, everybody rallies to support that person. Yeah. As soon as somebody asks for help and admit their faults, everybody is fine with it. Nobody goes, well, I'm glad you finally confessed because you really offended me every single day of last week. No, nobody says that. Everybody just has empathy and compassion. You know? And so it is encouraging us to not be so uptight and so self-judgmental. So you establish trust, and that kind of trust is very important, you know. When Sangha members tell you things, you don't go blabbering about it to everybody else. It stays within the Sangha. And we trust each other, and we help each other. Of course, if somebody breaks the law, then we have to take it to secular society. We do not copy the Catholic Church in that regard. Okay, no cover-ups in the Sangha. Yeah, absolutely not. Okay, so subduing the restive and stabilizing those with a sense of integrity. Yeah, so it helps us calm down when we have some integrity. Yeah, integrity, by the way, there's two other mental factors I'm sure you know about: integrity and consideration for others. Some people translate integrity as shame. Horrible translation. Okay, because there's two kinds of shame. Usually, we think of, when we hear the word shame, we think of the kind of shame I was just talking about, where you feel like something is just innately wrong with you. The other kind of shame is where you kind of feel like you didn't behave properly. But people don't use the word as often, like in that meaning now. So I call it integrity. Yeah, we have a sense of our own integrity. Yeah, a sense of these are my ethical principles. This is the way I want to be in the world. And because I respect myself and I respect my practice, then I will abandon certain actions and engage in other actions. Yeah, so that's a virtuous mental factor. Yeah. Consideration for others also helps us to keep precepts, because there we think, oh, my behavior influences other people. So if I don't behave properly, people could get a really bad idea about the Dharma and about the Sangha, and that harms them tremendously. Yeah. When you look at what's happening in the church, because of the scandals now, many people are losing faith in the whole religion because of the behavior of some of the church members. So we can see if we don't behave properly, it could really devastate somebody else's faith in the Dharma. I don't know about you, but I don't want to ever be the cause of somebody else losing faith in the Dharma. The Dharma is too precious, it's too difficult to meet. I don't want to act in a way that makes other people lose faith. So, you know, the precepts and living in community help us have that kind of integrity and consideration for others. Yeah? So it helps us rally and be the best kind of person we can be. Of course, we're always a work in progress, but we're going in the right direction. Then the last two of that last part is to eliminate the present defilements and to prevent future defilements from arising. Okay? So again, when we keep precepts, yeah, and then we go through the whole process of confession and owning up and making amends, then our present defilements get weakened. Yeah? Because we acknowledge them, we make a determination not to do it again, we make amends to the community, and then we go on. And then it also, doing that by destroying or subduing our present defilements, it also keeps future defilements from arising. Because hopefully we learn from our mistakes. Okay, so those were the temporal or conventional benefits of setting up the precepts. Then the ultimate aim of setting up the precepts. Okay. What do you think the ultimate aim is going to be? Yeah. When I thought about that, I thought, the ultimate aim must be, enlightenment. Actually, the way it's worded here, the ultimate aim is for the Dharma to exist forever. It's not for my own personal enlightenment. Yeah, the ultimate aim of the precepts, of the Sangha community is so that the Dharma can exist forever. So here we see very clearly that ordination is not about me and my Dharma practice. Yeah. It's about my contributing so that the Dharma can exist forever, so that future generations of people can have access to this wondrous teaching of the Vinaya and the Dharma. Yeah. So we have a responsibility to do that. That responsibility became, I was really dumb for a long time. Not that I'm smart now, but I was more ignorant before. And so my focus, when I was a Shamanarika, was my Dharma practice. What is good for my Dharma practice? Where shall I live that's good for my Dharma practice? Who should I be with? What teachers will I go? What is good for my practice so that I can progress? Yeah, that's where my attention was on. And when I took Bhikshuni ordination, I realized that I was off base. Yeah. What became very clear to me at that time, because I really wanted to take the ordination. I waited a long time to take it. I had to go through a lot to take it because I really wanted it. And what became very clear was I was able to take it because thousands of people, millions of people, for 25, 26 centuries have upheld the Dharma and Vinaya. And that's why I was able to take the ordination. That's how I was able to just even meet the Dharma as the complete dum-dum I was before. Just walking in. I mean, us first generation people, really, we were too much, And the way, anyways, so, why was I able to meet these teachings? Because of all these people whose names I do not know. It is not just the lineage lamas. It's all of the Sangha, all of the people who practice, who made the Sangha exist, and who enabled the Dharma to continue from generation to generation. And all of a sudden I realized, I owe a whole lot to all the people who practiced before me. Because if they hadn't done what they had done, I wouldn't be able to be here now to benefit in the way I was benefiting. And then I thought, I have a responsibility now to carry this on for future generations. It is not just what is good for my Dharma practice. It's what helps sustain the Dharma for future generations so that more and more people, and hopefully us, ourselves in our future lives, will be able to encounter the Dharma and the Vinaya. Yeah? Because if the Sangha fades away, the Dharma is going to fade away. Yeah. Now, many people nowadays in society don't think like that. At least in the States, you hear often, and even lay teachers saying, oh, monastic life is old-fashioned. We don't need it anymore. They don't understand. Monastic life is so important for the existence of the Dharma. You look historically, how is it? What's the condition for having a central country, which is one of the 18 conditions for precious human life? It's having a functioning Sangha that does the three practices, the Posada, the Varsa, the Pravarana. That establishes a central country. Historically, who has had the most time to learn the teachings, to meditate, to teach themselves, to offer counseling? It's the Sangha. Without the Sangha, so much is going to be lost. Sometimes lay people, including lay teachers, don't understand that. But my hope is slowly, by us working together as a community in harmony, then through what we do together as a community, people get that good visualization that Lama was inspiring us to give. And they begin to think about the value of the Sangha community. It's really quite important. Okay, so why don't we pause here and see if you have some questions or things that you want to talk about so far.
Well, actually, I would like to ask you if you could explain more precise why the Sangha really is important. I mean, I know about those 4 persons, but it really came also to my mind because there are so many lay teachers now, lay practitioners. They actually have like the same life as we. They don't have to work, but of course they are not ordained and don't keep such vows. But so in that way, I would be glad a little bit more.
Well, okay, one way I see it is, well, first you mentioned that a lot of the lay teachers don't keep the precepts, yeah? So many of them drink. Yeah? What kind of visualization does that give to other people who are themselves struggling with substance abuse? It's going to make it more difficult for them to counteract their own substance abuse. Yeah, if they see somebody teaching the Dharma who uses intoxicants. Okay. Also, having a monastery, people know that when they are spiritually in need or even spiritually distraught, there is a physical place where there are people who can help them and they can go there. Yeah. But they can't go to a lay teacher's house the same way they can come to us. Yeah. Can you imagine you're having some crisis in your life? You go to your lay teacher's house, ring the doorbell, their spouse comes with one crying baby and a toddler, to the door, and you're saying, can I speak to my teacher? I really need some help. And the spouse says, I'm sorry, it's like, I got to deal with this kid, and I got to get dinner on the table and take out the garbage. And anyway, my spouse is out, golfing with somebody else, so you can't see him anyway, even though he's your teacher. You can't go to a lay person's house and have the same kind of Dharma reception as when you come to a monastery. Yeah, or even a center. So that speaks loudly, I think, to people. And like I said, the dignity that you see with Sangha who really practice well. Yeah. Oh, you see that. I mean, you've had some fantastic teachers come here. And you see, the very highly realized teachers they don't have to pretend to be dignified. They don't pretend to be anything. It's just who they are. Yeah. And that, that says something about the effects of the practice. Yeah. And like I said, just even walking around, we are available for people. Yeah, we are a walking advertisement. Yeah. So once I was supposed to be on the plane, but the flight was way delayed, and you're in an airport on an international flight, and they canceled the flight or they delayed it 4 or 5 hours, and you're already jet lagged, and everybody on the plane is irritable. Anyway, so I was in one of those situations, and then after finally the plane left, somebody came up to me and said, "Oh, you were calm during that. That really helped me." And I was thinking, I was calm. I felt kind of irritated, but I guess I looked less irritated than the other people. Yeah. So then, people, what are you doing? Yeah. So it helps people.
It's a practical question.
Yeah.
You mentioned being on a plane and somebody did a confession to you.
Mm-hmm.
For reason out of my congregations, since I became a nun, lay people became very attracted to me, and confession to me happens all the time. I was really, they look me out, they search for me, they wait for me in the village. I come to the Institute, people come into the Institute first. They come to me, speak to me, and they end up usually saying, "Oh, I speak to you because you're a different kind of nun," and I feel, wow. I speak from the heart. I studied far less than all the other Sangha here. So I don't understand, sometimes I feel overwhelmed, and sometimes it's difficult to put boundaries and well, this person respects me. So,
Okay, so
any suggestion? How can I help without?
Okay, so let me see if I understood the question. So you were wondering that many people come to the Institute and seek you out and tell you their problems. And in the village, and tell you their problems and so on. And so your difficulty with this is?
Sometimes it's overwhelming. They want practical answers, they want advice in Dharma, they want time, they don't understand that I like secluded life, my study, my living by myself. But I choose not to live in the Institute to have more quiet time.
Okay, so the difficulty for you is that it's just too much. It takes
too much, and sometimes what happens when I have problems.
Yeah.
So like how to set boundaries also. How to set boundaries. Because sometimes it's a bit overwhelming.
On one occasion it was not possible for this person. She kept repeating problems. There was no little space to help her change perspectives.
Mm-hmm.
So I slowly back up because I couldn't, and she was overbearing and invading my own space. And she became very nasty and made problems for me.
Yeah, sometimes it can be difficult with dealing with people, and it can be inconvenient, it can be overwhelming. What I've learned is if people come to ask me a question or seek advice, and it's not a good time for me, because I'm in the middle of doing something, if they're not sobbing and hysterical, if they are sobbing and hysterical, of course, I see them right then. But if they're not, then I just say, "Oh, please excuse me, this isn't a good time for me. I'd like to listen to you, but right now I have some other obligations I have to do. Let's make an appointment." And when I make appointments with people, like during retreats when people want to see me privately, 10 minutes. I make the appointments for 10 minutes. They always go longer. But by making them for 10 minutes, I tell people, there's a lot of people, so it has to be quick. So you need to be very clear in your mind what your question is. Yeah? No, I'm sorry we don't have time for a long discussion and everything. You have to synthesize your question and give me just the information I need. And then if I tell them that beforehand, and then we make an appointment, it goes much better. Yeah, because then they have really thought about what they want to ask. Then they know they can't come in and tell you their whole life story for 3 hours. Okay? So it's a way of helping them to be more clear. Yeah? And I've always found that, being honest in a polite way is the best thing. So sometimes with people who come and they ask for help, I call them the yes but people. Yeah. You know how some people go, si pero, si pero people. Okay. So they come, they explain their problem to you, yeah. They go, you give them some advice, and they go, si pero, and then they explain their problem all over again because you didn't give them the advice they wanted, And I give people 2 chances. If they say si pero 2 times, then after that, I say to them, frankly, oh, it seems that the advice I'm giving isn't helpful for you. Yeah. You are an intelligent person. What ideas do you have for how to solve your problems? Yeah, let me hear your ideas. Yeah. And if they can't think of anything right away, then I say, go back and think about it. You're intelligent. You know the problem better than I do. Yeah. So I show them that they have wisdom and they can use their wisdom. Yeah. And I do not take on the responsibility to solve somebody else's problem. Yeah. We cannot solve other people's problem. Forget it. Yeah. We are not Mr. and Ms. Fix-It. Yeah. We can influence, we can advise, we cannot solve.
The first one, when you said to give interview and set time,
Yeah.
in a less skillful way, I tried it with some person and then became aggressive and say, oh, you are a monastic, you should be dedicated to other people. And when I say, I'm sorry, I also have other commitment, they say then, what often go to monasteries? Knowing that there is
What to do? If people expect that they can snap their fingers and the world does what they want, and they get angry if that doesn't happen, what can you do? I mean, you're polite. You say, I would like to help you, but now is not a good time. I can't give you my full attention right now because some other people are counting on me and they're waiting for me to do something. And if somebody gets angry because of that, what can you do? Then you just say, please excuse me, I wasn't able to fulfill your needs. I wish you well and I hope you can find somebody else who can help you because I wasn't able to. Yeah, what can you do? Yeah, so what you said is the truth, isn't it? Yeah? Okay? But of course, when people come, we should do what we can to help them. We shouldn't just be so preoccupied with what I have to do because I'm so important that, we ignore other people. But it's fine, to just say, this is not a good time and I want to be able to give you my full attention. I find sometimes, and this may come up over the weekend. We're doing some of the nonviolent communication training over the weekend. So this may come up there too, is that somehow we're always so afraid of saying what's true for us. Yeah, that we feel that doing that is somehow being rude, and that we have to take responsibility for other people's that we're the ones who make them happy or unhappy. We aren't responsible for their feelings. We're responsible for our behavior. Yeah. So we have to watch our own behavior and our own motivation and not deliberately harm somebody and not be irascible or difficult to get along with so that it bothers other people. But we are not responsible for how they feel, because we can be acting in perfectly good intention and behaving well, and they can get upset. And what can we do?
Don't get upset over
Yeah, I mean, I remember sometimes going to see Rinpoche, and one time in particular, this was many years ago, I was leading a course at Tushita, and Rinpoche was also at Tushita, and so he would invite some of the Sangha to go into his room early in the morning to do puja. So I always wanted to go. I was a Rinpoche groupie, because I was very jealous of all the other disciples who got to go and I didn't get to go. Okay? I'm not saying this is good. You should not be like I was. But I'm just telling you the way I was. So, but I couldn't go at 4 o'clock in the morning because I was exhausted. If I did that, I didn't get enough sleep and I was exhausted and I couldn't lead the course. But I was feeling so guilty and so terrible because they did self-initiation late one night and I didn't go, and I missed that chance to purify my tantric vows, and I should have done that. And if I only had more compassion, I could stay up all night just like Rinpoche did. So I'm such a lousy practitioner, blah, blah. Okay, so that was the state of my mind. So I went in to see Rinpoche and to apologize for not coming to the self-initiation and coming in the morning. And I go through this whole thing. And Rinpoche, he was doing something while I'm talking. And then he goes, then? Well, Rinpoche, I did blah, 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 and I felt this and that, and I didn't do this, and I'm really very sorry, I'm not a very good practitioner. Then? So then was the content of my entire interview. He just kept saying that. Yeah. Until I got the point that it's my responsibility to figure out what's going on in here. I can't go to Rinpoche and dump my problems and expect him to solve them and to comfort me and to tell me I'm such a good disciple anyway, even though I think I'm so bad. But that's not his job. Okay? So if you look, our teachers don't baby us that way. Or at least, I don't know, maybe they baby you. I never got babied. I'm here, so sometime while I'm here, I will tell you what happened to me when I was here. He knows. You're laughing.
Yeah, sure. I remember.
So again, I'll tell you that story and how what Rinpoche said at that point. But, you can't make everybody happy. We wish them to be happy, but we cannot make anybody happy.
How do we avoid getting caught in a Tibetan trip.
How do we what?
Avoid getting caught in
Uh-huh.
a Tibetan trip, whilst at the same time honouring the tradition that is our parent tradition.
Ooh, fantastic question. How do we keep from getting stuck in a Tibetan trip and at the same time honoring the tradition that we came from? Excellent question. I have struggled with this for years. Yeah, and this is really one of the tasks of the Sangha now, to figure out how to do that. Okay? So I think we honor the tradition because our teachers are amazing people. That's undoubted. Amazing people. Otherwise we wouldn't be following them. You know, I mean, they're our role models, except maybe we want to get more sleep. Yeah. But so we respect our teachers. The teachings, you can't change. I mean, the teachings are stupendous. There's no improvement on the Buddha's teachings. We are not smarter than the Buddha. Yeah, we don't need to change anything in terms of the teachings. So that's very clear in our mind, and we show that respect. Yeah. And we show respect to the Sangha, Tibetan or Inji, Western, who are, living that. Okay. What can change is some of the external aspects. Yeah. And those change, and the trick is to figure out what is the essence of the Dharma and what is culture. And if we don't figure that out, then we risk either doing a Tibetan trip or throwing out the Dharma, throwing the Buddha out with the bathwater, which is very dangerous. We don't want to do that. What we have to, this became very clear for me again when I went to Taiwan, because I had been ordained in the Tibetan tradition 9.5 years. I had finally learned to sit cross-legged for a long time, and to get used to being cold. Then I went to Taiwan. You stand hour after hour, and you wear layers of clothes, and I was sweating, like a waterfall. Almost. And, and the way they sang their Great Compassion mantra, the Longten mantra, is different than how we do it. And so it made me question, what is actually the Dharma? What is culture? I've learned to master some things in Tibetan culture. Now I'm having to master some things in Chinese culture. But what does that mean for me as a Westerner? What does that mean? And so this I struggled with it for a long time, and it still comes to mind. So it's really figuring out what is the Dharma that is for practice and what is culture. And His Holiness he really encourages us to be comfortable in our own culture and not do Tibetan trips. Because he always says, even if you put on Tibetan robes, even if you learn Tibetan language, you always have a big nose because you're a Westerner. And you can't hide that. Yeah? His Holiness also tells us to do our practices in a language we understand. Now, many of our Tibetan teachers, what do we do in Dharma centers? We do practices in Tibetan. I remember going to Singapore. I was stationed there for a while. So here I am, a Westerner, teaching in English to Chinese who speak English and Chinese dialect. And then we're chanting in Tibetan that none of us understand. What in the world am I doing? This does not make any sense. And that's when I really started shifting to doing things in English, as His Holiness had recommended a long time ago, so that we understand what we're saying. Yeah. If you don't speak Tibetan. If you speak Tibetan, great, that's really good. But if you don't, we have to understand things. So I think using our own language, now granted, in English we don't always have terms that reflect the Tibetan meaning of a word. The term faith is a good example. Yeah, the Tibetan word faith is a bad translation of it. Suffering is a bad translation of dukkha. It's very misleading. Okay? But sometimes having bad translations, then we have to think more deeply, what does this word really mean? And then think if we can come up with a better word. So in terms of faith, I sometimes use faith, I sometimes say confidence in the three jewels, sometimes trust in the three jewels, and I try and explain faith that it encompasses all of these things, and it doesn't mean blind faith. Yeah. With suffering, I've given up suffering altogether. I wish it were so easy, you just abolish the word. No, I stick with the Sanskrit term dukkha, because I think suffering just gives completely the wrong idea. Yeah. So then people just get used to using the word dukkha. They got used to Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, Samsara, Bodhicitta. So here's another one. Yeah. So sometimes not knowing Tibetan can really make us think more deeply about what the terms mean, what the concepts are. Yeah? And then just see, what we need to do to be relaxed in our own culture. And also when we are in India, how to behave so that the Tibetans will respect us as Indians. So I noticed a few people, when you blow your nose, you did this. Yeah, I used to do that when I was in India. Problem was I had allergies, so I spent most of it teaching like this, because I had to blow my nose so much. So please, you don't need to cover your head for me. Okay, we are Westerners. You can blow your nose all you want in front of me. I don't consider it rude. If you stick out your tongue, that doesn't go. But in Tibetan culture, sticking out your tongue is a sign of respect. In our culture, it isn't. So, when you go to India, then we have an English expression, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. I imagine you like that. So, not that Americans always do, but, when in the Tibetan community, do as the Tibetans do. And so that we don't stick out and we don't seem disrespectful. Okay. When we're in our own culture, then we can do things in our own culture. But again, sometimes we need to be more subdued than the way our culture does things. Okay. Does that answer your question okay? Yeah. If specific things come up, bring them up and we can talk about them. Yeah. Yes?
Can you say something about how you are living in Sravasti Abbey and the daily program and how many times you meet and
Oh, okay.
Sure. Because we are not really a monastery. We are the Dharma center, but at the same time I think we could maybe prepare for when there's going to be a monastery.
Yeah, okay. So what do we do at the Abbey, our daily schedule, and what do we do together as community and all? So I'll describe that to you. Like you said, your situation is a bit different here, but it might give you some ideas for what's useful, and then also when you do set up a monastery, it may give you some ideas. So the schedule is really the heart of our life. Yeah. And I tell people when they come to the Abbey, you're not going to like the schedule because nobody here likes the schedule. Okay? So just be aware that nobody likes the schedule. Everybody wants to change the schedule, and we're not going to change it. Why? Because we cannot agree on how to change it. Because this person wants morning meditation to start 5 minutes earlier, and that person wants it to start 5 minutes later. And this person wants lunch at this time, and that person wants lunch at that time. We are never going to agree on the perfect schedule. And even if we do get our way, next week we'll probably change our mind and want it to be different. So just get used to it. Nobody here likes the schedule. Okay? But, yeah, our schedule is designed to help us practice the Dharma. Yeah. The schedule is not designed to keep us so busy we have no time to breathe, or to force us to do things we don't want to do. Who needs to do that? We didn't ordain for that. But the schedule is designed to help us practice. Okay? So, people get up the latest 5 o'clock. You can get up as early as you want to. The latest is 5. Morning meditation starts at 5:30. Everybody goes unless you're sick. If you're sick, you leave a note on the whiteboard so that other people know you're still alive, Otherwise, people get worried. We live in a community, somebody doesn't show up, what happened to them? Yeah. So morning meditation goes from 5:30 till 7 o'clock. At 7, then there's a rota. Different people take turns preparing breakfast. So while 1 or 2 people are preparing breakfast, the other people have a break between 7 and 7:30. 7:30 is breakfast. Then at 8:15, we have what's called a stand-up meeting. And this is really good. It helps us come together a lot as a community and prevents a lot of misunderstandings. So it's called stand-up meeting because the idea is that it's going to be short so you don't sit down. It's not one of these long meetings with a long agenda and going on forever. So at the stand-up meeting, we stand in a circle, and everybody says one thing that they rejoice about from the previous day, and then they say what they're going to do that day, so that everybody knows, if somebody's going into town or what job they're going to be focusing on. Everybody knows. So we go around in a circle. Everybody says that, and then if there's any issues about if somebody needs help with whatever job they're doing that day, they ask for help. If they help from volunteers, they'll ask for that. Whoever's in charge of volunteers, they'll say, send people to me or whatever. If a bigger issue comes up that needs to be decided, we don't just decide it there, but we'll take it offline. And usually have a committee, maybe 3-4 people sit down and talk about it and then present it to the group, or we'll save it for when we have a community meeting so that everybody can hear it. So the stand-up meeting lasts 15 minutes. Some days it goes a whole half hour, but we try and make it so that doesn't happen very often. So then at 8:30, then we start offering service. So offering service is what other people call work. We call it offering service because labels are important. Work, who wants to work? Yeah. Offering service? Yeah. Oh, if I offer service, I create merit. Yeah. If I offer service, I'm fulfilling my bodhisattva aspiration to benefit sentient beings. So we offer service to the community, we offer service to the public, So these are the hours. We all have various jobs. Somebody's in the office, somebody's in charge of the videos and the BBC things I was telling you about. Somebody else does the newsletter. Somebody else does the annual report. Somebody else. We have a lot of properties, so we have people working out in the forest. We have people doing maintenance. All sorts of things to do with the building. Then any kind of legal things or office stuff. Different people take care of it. So we don't have any paid help. We run the whole place by ourselves, the monastics do, with the aid of the volunteers who come and stay with us. So then we offer service until just before lunchtime, which is at noon. Then at noon we have our Bodhisattva breakfast corner talk that lasts 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 10 minutes, it varies. Then we eat lunch. We eat breakfast. I should go back. At breakfast, before we eat, we chant the 21 praises to Tara. Then we do the offering prayer together. We eat breakfast in silence until a bell is rung, and then at the end of the breakfast we can talk. Then similarly with lunch, we have our Bodhisattva breakfast corner. We offer the food together. So everybody's there at 12, And then we eat, in silence at the end of the meal. Somebody rings the bell, we can talk a little bit. Then some people do the dishes, other people go for a walk. We have until 2 o'clock to do what we want. Okay? Then at 2 o'clock, there's more offering service. That goes until about 4:15 or so, and then from 4:30 till 6 is study time, or sometimes we have teachings. We have a slightly different schedule when we have teachings on the day. 6 o'clock is medicine meal. Medicine meal, some people eat, some people don't. We call it medicine meal to remind ourselves that we're taking the food as medicine. And at that time, we don't keep silence. It's more of a catch-up time and get to know people time. But we don't all. It's not all a crazy time. It's not if it's ruckus laughter or whatever. People will say something. Clean up from that. Then 7 o'clock evening meditation till 8:15. And then after 8:15, some people read, some people study, some people work, do more offering service, some people go to bed. It's, we're doing what you want. So it's a very full day. Yeah, it's a very full day. And most people, when they come, they go, I'm ready from one thing to another. There's no spare time here. And I think, how did you ever hold a job? There's more spare time here than you do when you hold a job and you have a family and you have a social life where you're really running. But I guess when you do that, what gets cut out is your study time and your meditation time. But here, our study time and our meditation time don't get cut out. Everybody's at those things. That's the priority. If somebody's not at teaching or not at meditation, we check and make sure that they're okay, that they're not sick. Yeah, it's just, that's why everybody's there, so nobody skips it. So that's our daily schedule. We do soap twice a month. We do posada or sojam twice a month. We do Tara Puja on the 8th. So all those are community functions.
What is the average of person present in the Abbey?
The
average, like how many people are there, more or less?
Right now we have 14 monastics. Yeah, we just had another ordination, so there's 14 of us. We have 2 people who are anagarikas. In Tibetan it's Gomni Genyan. So it means you have the 8 precepts, which are like the 8 Mahayana precepts, except they're Pratimoksha precepts. They aren't the 8 Mahayana precepts, but they're similar. So people who are thinking of ordaining, they first come to the Abbey and they hold the 5 precepts for a while. Then usually they've held the 5 precepts before they even come. because they've been coming for a while, we know them, and they know how we do things at the Abbey. So then they come, and after they get settled, then they take the 8 precepts, and we have a blue uniform that they wear, and they shave their head, and so they keep those precepts. They get used to shaving head, looking different, but it's also very clear they're not monastics. And then when they've been in Anagarika about a year, it really varies for some people. Some people, they've been practicing a long time, we know them very well, so maybe after 10 months, they'll ask to take the Shramanera ordination. Other people, it'll take them more than a year. And some people decide in that time that ordination is not going to be for them. So it's worked very well, and I tell people when they come for the Anagarika training, this is not preparation for ordination. This is a time when you're exploring whether you want to ordain or not. And so some people, after doing it for a while, they decide, this is not for me. This isn't what I want to do. And so I say that's a really successful Anagarika time. It's not a failure. Yeah. It's a successful because you decided what you want to do. And so now go out and be a good lay practitioner. So, or recently we had one young man, and he was staying with us as Anagarika for a long time. And the way his mind was working, he was getting himself so tied up in knots, And so we talked about it one day, and it's like, this just isn't working for you, And you need to go out and you need more life experience, because he was young. You need to work at a job. You need to become independent of your parents. Yeah, because he was emotionally really tangled up with his parents. So we talked about it. So he left the Abbey. He decided to move to Spokane, the local city. So he's working there and doing volunteer work there. And the last time I saw him, he said, it was really right. This is what I need to do. I needed to grow up. Yeah? And so that's what he's doing. And so maybe he'll be back, maybe he won't. We'll see. So then people take ordination. The Shramanera, Getzel, they take that, they keep that for 2 years, men and women. The women also take the Shikshamana at the same time they take the Shramanera, so they get the intermediate trainings as well at the same time. And because we value gender equality, everybody spends 2 years as a novice. And then after the 2-year period, if people feel ready, then they request full ordination, and we send them to Taiwan to take the full ordination because we don't have enough people yet to give it ourselves. Yeah, we give for the women, we give the Shramanera and Shramanerika. For the men, we send them to some Chinese monks to ordain.
What advice for a nun with mind sickness?
Somebody who is ill, or you, we really screen people quite carefully. If somebody is ill and it's going to be clear that they can't really keep the schedule, then we advise them to remain as an Anagarika or to go to a place, that is going to be more comfortable for them. Yeah, because we have quite a rigorous schedule. So if people are not healthy mentally or physically, then it's going to be difficult for them to do that. So we say, it's better for you to find a place where it's going to work for you better. Yes?
But if one already became a nun, for example, what would you advise? I am a nun, I have a problem, mental problem. I'm schizophrenic.
Yeah. I would say keep your ordination, go to therapy, go to your doctor, get all the help you need. Yeah? If living with the Sangha is difficult for you and it isn't working for you, then find a different living situation that will work for your particular circumstances in this life.
What's the average age of people joining your community, of people staying in your community?
Okay. So we have an age limit of 50 for ordaining. So people need to be, start the process at 50 or younger. Simply because otherwise we would have twice as many monastics as we have now if we didn't have an age limit. And then in 10 years it would become an old folks home. And that wouldn't work, and we don't have the resources to handle that. So we have the age limit of 50 for ordination. So we get people in all ages. Yeah. Right now there's more older people because they ordained before, and they were people who had long-term practices before, and they were with the center where I taught before. And so they were older and more mature in the Dharma, and so they're all over 50. They're all ordained around 50, I think. Some of them a little bit older, but that was at the very beginning, before we realized that we can't have an old folks home.